Okay, so we are live. Hi, Steve Zabadowski, and I'm here with Haywood Wetzel. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, you're new to Louisiana. You are. Am I correct about that also? And you're representing Louisiana for Lifeline. So I'm assuming all my questions are correct.
Correct. Steve, thanks so much for having me. My name is Haywood Watts. I'm somewhat new to Louisiana. I've been down here about 8 or 9 months now. And yeah, I'm working for an organization called Louisiana Lifeline. We're a nonprofit organization that supports the Lifeline phone program.
Okay, somehow the audio is not. I don't know what's going on here. I haven't had this issue. Bear with me. I'm sorry.
I got a quick clip.
First of all, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, so like when we just did that, for some reason the echo was horrible. So let me turn off this video thing since I'm recording it. Maybe that's what's. Okay, why don't you say a few words?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, let me close this. I mean, that was absolutely weird. I haven't had that in quite a while. It was echoes were just horrible. So why don't you say a few words just so that I know we have it right?
Yep. Just sitting here in sunny Baton Rouge. It's kind of warm today.
Okay. By chance, do you have like an earbud or something like that? If not, don't worry.
Yeah, I can probably find one. Can you hang on just 1 second?
Sure, yeah.
How does that work? Can you hear me?
Yeah, so far sounds better. So, okay, well, cool. Okay, so we're going to start all over. I do apologize. Haywood Wetzel, thank you so much for appearing on Bayou Buzz. And I'd like to ask you, so you represent, and you're, am I correct, the executive director of Louisiana for Lifeline? Is that the title?
Steve, thanks so much for having me. And yeah, my name is Haywood Wetzel. I'm the state director for Louisiana for Lifeline.
Okay. So why don't you tell us about Louisiana for Lifeline?
Sure. Louisiana for Lifeline is a new nonprofit organization that supports the Lifeline phone program. The Lifeline phone program is basically a program that helps provide very basic limited phone access for seniors, citizens, and veterans who qualify, who are at the lowest end of the economic spectrum.
Okay. Now, am I correct, just so that I get the nomenclature correct, and so people who are opposed to the program know exactly what I'm referring to? It's otherwise, I guess, named by those who oppose the program as the Obama phone. Am I correct?
It is somewhat erroneously referred to as the Obama phone. The program was actually created about 30 years ago by the FCC under the Reagan administration. It was expanded under George W. Bush's presidency, and it was actually mandated in the 1996 Telecommunications Act by Newt Gingrich's Congress.
Okay, and signed by President Clinton.
Correct.
Sure. So why the negativity? Why the negativity?
Sure. Well, I think there's a perception that folks are that a phone is somehow a luxury, and what the Lifeline phone program provides is a very, very basic phone. Subscribers can opt for either a local landline service or a cell phone with about 2 or 3 hours of talk time per month. So it's a very basic, limited subsidy. I met a woman here in Baton Rouge. Her name is Audrey, who is a subscriber for the program. She's about 70 years old. She raised several kids. They're all grown now, and she worked all her life. And she walks now with a cane, with some difficulty. She'll probably have to move on to a walker here at some point, but she's sort of a prideful woman and doesn't want to pick up the walker yet. And if something happened to her, like she fell and she needed to call emergency services, and just things like keeping up with doctor's visits and keeping in touch with her family, those aren't really luxuries. So I think there's a perception that that phone is a luxury, but people do need access to basic communications.
Sure. Now, could you take us through, say, the evolution of this? The idea was born during the Reagan administration. Now, obviously, there weren't at that time cell phones. At least I don't think they were. If they were very, very big,
Right.
and only a few people could really even carry them, as heavy as they were. And certainly they were not made for everybody. And then, so in terms of the evolution, I'm assuming that most of the phones then were fixed lines.
Yep, that is correct. At the time the technology was fixed fixed telephone lines. As technology has developed, it's become apparent that cell phone technology is inherently cheaper, especially for rural areas. But it's just easier to maintain and cheaper for the telephone communications companies to provide.
Okay. So moving forward, obviously, in the Clinton administration, and you mentioned the 1996 Telecommunications Act, and so what happened in terms of that act, and how did the program expand or change?
Sure. Well, the 1996 Telecommunications Act provided for what's called the Universal Service Fund. And the Universal Service Fund is administered by the Universal Service Administration Corporation, which is a nonprofit that was set up by the FCC specifically to run this program. And Lifeline is one of several different programs that is funded through the Universal Service Fund. Basically, the way the program runs is that the telecommunications providers themselves actually donate into the Universal Service Fund, and then those funds are divvied out from there. It's a way of just sort of evening out the cost. So there's a perception that this is, hurting our budget deficit, but this program actually takes no money from the budget.
Okay, but it does come from the people, obviously, in terms of their monthly bill, and so that money goes into the fund. Is that the way it works?
Sure. The telecommunications providers themselves actually have the choice of whether they can they add the universal service fee onto your bill, or just charge you a flat fee. That's sort of their call. Yes, we do get a universal service fee on our bill. About 40 cents of that universal service fee is applied to the Lifeline program per month. So we're talking about $4.80 a year. I give more to the Salvation Army every Christmas.
Sure. Okay, so the main recipients, the main beneficiaries of the program are people who are disabled, the elderly. I mean, those are the poor also. Those are three categories of people who are really getting the benefit of this program.
Right. each household that meets certain qualifications is allowed to have one line. They can choose either a landline or a 2.5-hour cell phone. Currently, there are about 35,000 veterans who actually are on the program here in Louisiana, and 156,000 seniors. They make up about 40% of the people on the program.
Okay, so the 60% then, those would be people who are poor.
Poor, disabled, meet the qualifications.
Okay. So 2.5 minutes a month is what you're saying, and that's really what this program allows. 2.5 minutes, and anything over that, yeah. Take us through that, please.
2.5 hours if they opt for the cell phone.
2.5 hours. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. It varies by provider. We're talking about 150 minutes, which isn't a lot when you stop and think about it. I talk to my girlfriend 45 minutes every day, so that it's really just to keep in touch, make those doctor's appointments, call 911 if they need to, and if they're able-bodied, look for a job. Okay.
And actually, it seems to me, especially what's happened here in New Orleans, it seems like it might be a pretty handy crime-fighting device.
Absolutely. The phone, just as a tool, has saved countless lives since its development. I met a guy actually in New Orleans. His name was Sherman. I keep reminding myself he is a retired Marine, not an ex-Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Sure.
And he sort of exudes that quality. And a real nice guy to talk to. I really enjoyed meeting him. He's also a subscriber to the program. He's retired now. He was in his neighborhood in New Orleans, and just someone was walking down the street firing a gun just randomly at people's houses. And he was able to use that phone to call 911. The police arrived, arrested the suspect, and no one was hurt. So yeah, it's absolutely, being able to report a crime it's absolutely critical.
Are there any other stories like that so that people get a better idea as to the benefits of the program and the phones? Any other stories that you're aware of?
Sure. I met another guy, another veteran. He's a younger veteran who was on the program. His name escapes me right now. I'm sorry. But he was transitioning out of the military, and was kind of struggling just with what he wanted to do, and how to adjust to civilian life. And he got on the program. He was homeless for a little while, but he was able to get a job and build and develop a career for himself. And actually, he's no longer eligible for the program, which is exactly what we want for people like that.
By chance, are there any stats that would show what percent of the 2.5 hours per month are actually utilized? Is it 20%, 40%? Is there a rollover in terms of carryover? So yeah.
Yeah, I don't have those stats, but I can look those up and try to get them for you.
Okay. And is there a carryover so that if you don't totally utilize the phone for that month, then it carries over, and that you can build up credit, so to speak?
I would assume that would be up to the telecommunications providers themselves. The way they execute the program is differently. It's just a $9.25 flat subsidy per subscriber. And the phone company can execute that any way that they feel is fit.
Now these phones, they're basic phones, even though they may be, say, wireless phones, cell phones. They're not smartphones. are the people able to access the internet? Not that that's a bad thing. I'm just trying to get a better idea
Sure.
as to, yeah.
Yeah, you're not getting an iPhone, that's for sure. You're getting a very basic talk and text. The text capability we do feel is important just because emergency responders are increasingly relying on texting services to issue public service announcements and weather warnings and that kind of thing.
Okay, so it help out during hurricanes. That's one of the major issues we've had. Certainly, trying to notify people who need to be notified and need to maybe get their things together earlier than others.
Absolutely. I mean, people who are in contact that have telecommunications can organize their own evacuation. And when folks were evacuated from Katrina in 2008, a lot of people used their phones just to keep in touch with family who, were spread everywhere after the storm.
So the program actually, from what you mentioned, Katrina, was fully implemented here in Louisiana after Katrina, or was it implemented before and expanded? Either.
Well, it was implemented. I know that some of the telecommunications providers made a major effort to get Lifeline phones to some of the evacuees that qualified, just because of the horrible logistics after you're evacuated by FEMA or whoever of trying to get back in touch with family and trying to pull your life back together.
I see. Because the reason why I asked that question is because I remember reading something about the conflict regarding Senator David Vitter in Louisiana. He's probably the lawmaker in Washington that's been most opposed to this plan, and as I appreciated, there was an ad that was taken out that basically said, Senator Vitter, how quickly you forget, and it showed the city underwater. And so I'm just wondering whether or not, do you have any information about that, any background about that?
I don't know the specific ad, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, okay. So your role here in the state is it to try to, say, raise money for the program, or just to provide education, or both?
We're just here to advocate for the program at a grassroots level, to advocate for the 35,000 veterans here in Louisiana that use the program and the 156,000 seniors, as well as the other low-income citizens that qualify for the program. And that's pretty much it. We're just here to advocate for their interests.
Do you see any opportunities, any further opportunities for expansion of the program, such as internet? For example, and let me just throw some ideas out. I'm sure these have been thought about, but in terms of judging the value and the benefits of cell phones like this for that population that you're referring to, as you know, the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare, basically, you virtually have to get insurance over the internet, and so poor people are going to have to try to get those kind of services, not just say Affordable Care Act, but those kind of services by going on the internet. I'm just wondering whether or not, have you heard anything about any kind of expansion, access to internet to close the digital divide?
Sure. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Sure.
We did actually just launch our website. It's www.louisianaforlifeline.com, and we do have some sort of basic information about how to qualify for the program. But if your question is more along the lines of internet access for folks who would qualify for Lifeline. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
We're basically here just to promote and advocate for the program as it is.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying that it would seem to me there would be a real need for internet access, given, I mean, for the same population that you're referring to, given the way the society is going in terms of needing to be able to use the internet for just basic purposes, such as getting insurance or getting, say, government benefits, etc.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We're a very highly interconnected society these days, and increasingly more so.
Sure. Well, listen, I definitely thank you for providing this information to us. Certainly, we'll have some questions as this goes forward, and we certainly also ask you to come back in the future and tell us how things are going.
Thanks so much, Steve. I really appreciate it.
Okay, hold on now. Let me turn it off.